My brother calls me dad, and I refuse to tell him the ugly truth.
I'm not your puppy.
Am I the asshole?
You know, there could be potential beauty.
Let's see if it's beauty or ugliness.
I choose love.
I was born when my parents were both 19, and my only other brother, let's call him Josh, was born when they were 42.
Wow.
23 years later. Wow. They divorced shortly after Josh was introduced to the world. He was 4 months old at that time, and they both wanted nothing to do with the child. All of a sudden, this second kid pops out, and they're like, no.
Oh my gosh.
That's sad, dude. At the time, I was 23 and I was living alone with my then girlfriend, who was 21, and she's now my wife.
There we go.
And I had done my best to convince at least one of them to take care of young Josh for his sake and for family's sake. But they refused adamantly and said that I should be taking custody of him instead.
What?
Hey, it was your actions that produced Josh.
I did not do this. It wasn't me.
So I became legal guardian of my brother, and he's been living with us for the past 12 years, and things have been going really smoothly for us.
Wow.
OP, way to step up.
Shout out, OP.
Holy shit.
You're
like
awesome.
Your parents are scumbags, but obviously you didn't inherit their terrible way of interacting with the world.
Big heart for you, OP.
Josh, now almost 13, has been calling me dad, and my wife, mom, and our 2 children, 4 female, 9 male, his siblings, and he has absolutely no idea about his real parents. And to be honest, I let all of that slide.
Whoa. So
He doesn't know the truth.
he doesn't know
Doesn't
the truth.
know the truth. He has no idea that I'm really his blood brother and not his father. And I'm starting to feel guilty and a little weird.
Oh, man.
And on one hand, you want to be truthful and honest about this whole situation. And on the other hand, it's a 12-year-old kid that views you as the father.
Oh, I feel for you, OP. It's a tough one.
Some of my uncles and aunts come to visit occasionally, and they are really disgusted at the fact he calls me dad, and they are surprised that I haven't told him the truth. Disgusted? Okay, first of all, when you adopt a kid, or however you acquire the baby, whatever, what does that baby call you?
Parental guardian unit.
No, it calls it dad and mom.
It calls you daddy.
Father. Oh my God.
calls it daddy. So how is this
Yeah.
any different?
OP is the dad. In my
OP is the dad.
raised the child as a child's father.
Being dad isn't biological. Being dad is a responsibility
Whoa.
that you take on.
Yeah, speaking truth.
They constantly message me, talk to me in private, and I cannot chat to them without this one particular topic rising up, badgering me to let him know already, but I refused. I discussed this with my wife, and she thought it would be wrong to tell him the truth because none of my parents wanted to take care of him, and I'm the only person in the world who gave him the father figure everyone deserves. I feel that he has the right to know what he is to me and what I truly am to him, but he's suffered enough already, and I just want things to continue how it is. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Would I be the asshole if I let him know the truth? And there is a juicy update
Oh, man.
coming around the corner. But this is really hard. This is a difficult situation.
It really is. If there's one thing OP is not the a-hole. OP is the angel.
Oh yeah,
in
for
this
taking care of
scenario.
a kid that your parents decided to discard. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing other than you being the best person.
Yes.
But the question is, at what age and at what time do
Yeah.
you tell the truth?
feel like, honestly, like maybe like close to what?
Look at that giant ass mosquito, bruh.
I personally, my gut is saying kind of like close to college graduation age, because
College graduation.
I think the early adult development might have been a lot tougher. Whereas like you have a few years of adult, not just full child development, but adult development as well under your belt. And so you can handle a little bit more.
I'm thinking 16,
Yeah.
right? 16 and say, hey, this is a situation. But at 16, you could wash away or like support as he's dealing with this knowledge. I've just got up to discuss this with my wife. And now, after a lot of hesitation, we've decided that it's best the truth comes from us, and it has to come now.
Wow.
I went to my local therapist and told him about my situation and asked what to do. To keep it short, he said he's heard similar accounts from before and said it is best to tell him as soon as possible for multiple reasons. and to make sure that my biological children are present for multiple reasons. I asked a few of my closest friends, and the majority said more or less the same thing. My wife and I decided to sit the kids down and burst the big bubble. I'm like curious what the reason is to have the kids there too.
I mean, I definitely see telling the kids at some point.
I asked my brother Josh to come closer, and I made sure I held him close and made him feel comfortable. He asked, "What's going on?" But I started by telling us how much we cared and loved for him, then told him everything about my parents. I put them in a bright light in hopes of a reunion and who I am to him. Then quickly hugged him and my other two kids together and told him that I love all my children the same and nothing is going to change my love for him. He was shocked and asked if I was joking, but I was starting to cry a little at this point, so he knew I was serious. My biological children were very surprised too. He was in tears and asked me why I didn't tell him sooner. I didn't know what to say and said, "I was just trying to protect you. I'm sorry, and I hope you can forgive me." But unfortunately and understandably, he left.
Wow.
He didn't talk to me as much, again, understandably so, but I continually offered him to go out to the park and play a bit of football. He loves that and all his favorite things, but he just outright declined and even got a little angry sometimes for me even talking to him.
It's the angst, the uncertainty, like that is
It's also just a big load of information
it's just
to deal
a big
with.
load of information to deal with, yeah, especially like right after, you know?
I thought I messed up big time until one day while my wife and two children were out doing shopping and we were alone, he came up to me and said, "I know you're not my real father, but I want to let you know you're the best dad in the whole world. Sorry for before."
Riley, are we gonna cry in this episode? Is that what you're doing to us? He's saying yes.
I'm gonna cry.
He's saying yes.
I hugged him and things got pretty emotional. It would be a big lie to say my house is normal now. Far from that. But things are slowly, ever so slowly starting to brighten up. There's no longer anything to hide anymore. And it feels like we are being born again. Josh is a tough kid, and he handled this far better than I believed he would. I'll be looking into therapy for him to help him recover just in case it doesn't go well in the long run. I'll strive and continue to be a great dad to my kids and a great dad to my brother's son. Thank you, Reddit, for pushing me towards this happy ending. Thank you for all the advice and judgments I got, excluding the rude ones about my uncles and aunts. Eek. I love you all, and good night.
Okay, hold on. Just my goodness, for a beautiful happy ending.
That was so cute.
Oh,
I was getting a little teary-eyed.
Yeah, dude.
Getting a little teary-eyed. So I guess we were both wrong in then saying that you should wait until he was like older.
you know what I was also thinking as we were after getting into the update was like, if you actually tell him really young and help him understand like from an early age. There was actually a great example in the long solo episode I did, which thanks you guys for the nice comments there. The father, it was not his biological child as well, and then the kid found out at 4 or 5 or something like that. So someone on Reddit gave this amazing suggestion. She had a teddy that was with her at all times. So he had her build a Lego teddy, and he built a Lego version of her, right? So she kept asking like, oh, do you still love me? You didn't make me. Then he was like, hey, do you love your Lego teddy more than your actual teddy? She's like, no, I love my actual teddy the most. That's my teddy. And then he's like, well, that's the same thing. I just made this Lego version of you, but that doesn't mean I love the Lego version. I love you because you're my daughter.
Oh,
and then it like clicked for her.
That's
dude,
so
it's hitting me
cute.
again. Dude, Riley, you're gonna make us cry in this episode. This is good. It's good. Tears are good. But yeah, man, beautiful ways of true angels and heroes connecting with their children that are not related by blood, but they are their children.
They are their children. Being a parent, it is a hat that you put on, a responsibility that you take on. It is not biology, which, I think these parents, but the original, like actual biological parents proved. It's like they didn't take on that responsibility. And so OP stepped up and did. And that's what makes him a parent.
Absolutely right. Well, Sam and everyone watching, grab a tissue because I got another one for you.
Another tearjerker. All right, let's get into it.
I gave my prized possession to a fellow student instead of my greedy niece. She didn't deserve it. Am I the a-hole?
Just because she's blood doesn't mean she gets the gift.
I, 36 male, have been learning the cello for 8 years and attending the same music school since starting. Shout out to you for a late in life skill.
You know, I almost went to music school at Princeton. Got waitlisted. Was
No
gonna play
kidding.
piano there.
And then what happened?
Then I decided to do engineering instead.
I started learning late in life because I grew up in a poor family that couldn't afford things like instruments and music lessons. I met Chloe while we were both waiting to go into our lesson a few years back. We speak often about random stuff on the regular because our lessons have always fallen into the same time slot and we're both in the orchestra, etc., etc. She's about 13, very polite and eager to learn, and treats her very cheap rubbish instrument that her parents got for her from an online store like gold.
Oh, damn. The very cheap rubbish instrument.
Yeah, her piece of shit. Her 2 strings in a cardboard box. She tries to make sounds with like a cave person. Ooga booga me play sounds. Oh God. Goodness gracious, what a backhanded attempt at a compliment. I know her parents and they're lovely people. It's all they can afford. I'm not shaming them, but if you know anything about instruments,
It's crap.
it's absolute
It's
dog.
dog.
You know what I mean. It's only half the size and far too small for her, but there's not
It's a puny, tiny instrument.
I have big sounds for big boys. It's only half the size and far too small for her, but there's not a single scratch on it, and she practices every spare minute. I've recently decided to upgrade to a performer instrument, and a trade-in on my current $9,000 cello would have only gotten me $4,000 back, so I decided to keep it and sell it myself. I'm pretty well off now, but I know what it's like to be where Chloe is. So I've taken pity, ? On her. I usually gift her something at Christmas, like her next grade of music book, rosin, a gift card to a local luthier, string instrument maker, to get a new bow and have her instrument serviced. But having not had time to list my old cello for sale or even know where to, my good deed strings got plucked. At thinking my old instrument would likely mean the world to someone like Chloe, whose parents will likely never afford a decent instrument for her. Her parents will never upgrade from
Amount to
her box with
nothing.
strings on it. The puny little sound
Savage,
box.
dude. Savage.
Good gravy. What a nice, mean person. But stupid me mentioned this idea to my sister-in-law, Gail, who has a daughter, 14 female. We'll call her Alice. And she told me that Alice wants to learn the cello and insisted that I give the instrument to her daughter instead, as
Wants to? She hasn't even started?
but as it's too valuable to give to a stranger's kid,
Oh, come on.
to some puny string box.
You're not going to
player.
even use the cello, though. Like,
She hasn't even. This girl is
she
like.
hasn't even started. This girl is like giving her blood, sweat, and tears to this tiny little half-man cello. And like, what, this other girl, this niece, might want to learn the cello?
Let's play it out super quickly. Let's say the niece takes up cello, picks it up as a hobby, whatever, becomes a thing she does in school and doesn't do for the rest of her life. Chloe might do this as a profession,
Yeah,
given
exactly.
how deep into it she is.
in it,
So
yeah.
this could be the thing that's like the teacher that gives you the pat in the back to.
Yeah, this could be the encouragement that she needs to take it even further.
Alice is her own little dude, and we get along quite well, but she has never mentioned wanting to learn an instrument to me until she watched Wednesday, and now it's cool all of a sudden.
Just because you watch one rock concert and be like, it would be cool to play guitar,
Yeah.
like, doesn't mean you're actually going to learn how to play guitar.
I'm the next Bach.
Yeah.
You know, Bach is Bach.
I'm the next
And it's
Yo-Yo
me.
Ma.
Yeah. More like yo-yo me. Now, Alice, my niece, hasn't stuck with anything for long. She always fads and jumps from one thing to another, and it's, for lack of a better word, spoiled, and based on her track record, handing her anything other than a student cello as her first instrument would be a waste, as I'm unable to convince myself that she would even practice, let alone reach a point that would call for this level of an instrument.
Agreed.
Agreed. Where Chloe is at a point where, yes, this instrument is slightly too big for her right now, but she needs it, and call me what you'd like for this part, but I'd feel happier giving it away to someone that needs it, like Chloe, rather than someone that just wants it because it's connected to me. You know?
I feel like that makes total sense.
Makes a ton of sense.
It's like give the gift where it will have the most impact.
1,000,000%. But that has me worried that I might be seen as an a-hole for this decision. Family first? Question mark. This music school is putting on Christmas carols tonight, and I intend to gift the cello to Chloe at the end of it. But I'm still conflicted about it. There is an update. I'm assuming with some resolution.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it. I think OP is not the a-hole for giving the cello where it's wanted and needed most.
I completely agree. Like, it seems like Chloe, like just through, and also we had the additional context of the niece just kind of hops in and out of things. I've just gotten home from the Christmas carols event. Some people mentioned asking Chloe's parents for permission to gift her the cello, and I'm glad this was mentioned because it was something that I hadn't considered, and it led to what I feel was the perfect outcome. I feel the tears, guys. My tear ducts are they're pumping up.
Wild.
Wet and wild. Everyone had settled after the students had finished the show, and parents and volunteers brought cakes, etc. to share, and everyone was just standing around and chatting. Chloe ran off to join the line to get her bag of lollies and goodies, and it gave me a moment to approach her folks without having to mention my intention in front of Chloe before knowing how it would be received by them.
Classy move.
I was nervous as hell, but opened with my usual compliments on Chloe's playing. She played What Child Is This in a quartet, and it was perfect. And I made a lighthearted joke about her growing too quickly and dwarfing her cello now. Her parents laughed, but went on to mention how they've been saving to buy her a bigger one, and that they didn't want to go cheap on it this time like they had for her first couple. Having learned a lot very quickly about quality, but when they had taken Chloe to the luthier, the maker of stringed instruments, with the intention of getting her one for Christmas, they'd been disappointed to find out that they hadn't saved enough for the quality that Chloe needed, and that they'd been devastated despite Chloe understanding and taking this revelation quite well.
Oh, that's gotta be so hard as parents being like, you want to get the best for your child, but you can't afford it.
Oh my God. And just her dedication and her
dedication,
her positive attitude, and just
Chloe's the real one.
Figuring a new cello was kind of something they'd worked hard on getting for Chloe, I decided to try to get them in on the idea and ask them how much they'd saved and would they be interested in buying my old one, as I had a new one now and had no need for it. But I didn't notice that Chloe had approached back from the line, and she piped up with a low tone that they hadn't even saved enough for the student quality instruments, let alone mine. She had a good idea of how much instruments are worth. I stumbled on my words a little, but I went on to insist on knowing how much they'd saved, and her mother told me that they'd saved around $1,600. I told them that that sounded like a good enough offer to me, and that I'd be happy to know that it was being played and cherished by someone like Chloe that would take good care of it, and I held my hand out to shake on the deal. No one answered for what felt like an hour to me. You know, just like that moment where you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah, and like OP is like fully extended. Yeah,
just like,
you want to take this deal?
Shake? Chloe's father finally responded and told me that they couldn't accept it, as Chloe had pointed out an instrument of equal value to mine to them while they were at the shop, and he didn't feel that it was right to take it for anything but a fair value, and they couldn't afford to do that. I'll admit that I felt a little bit annoyed by his initial good-mannered refusal, but I understood it as I was raised by similar-minded parents with the same values. But I told her parents that this was an offer that I felt that they really couldn't pass up, as it was something that I felt Chloe had earned and needed desperately, and that even if they didn't accept my offer, I was going to give it to Chloe anyways.
Damn. OP, like, it's like a class act and like an act of like rebellion at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't f***ing care if you don't gonna accept it.
You're gonna take
you're
this.
gonna take this shell if you like it or not.
And then I turned and placed the hard case in front of the shocked and dead silent Chloe, and I walked away.
Mike, drop. Like, this is like an aggressive way to give a gift.
Chloe's father approached me while we were helping pack up the entertainment hall, and he gave me a hug and thanked me, promising to drop off the money at my shop in the morning and offering to help me out if I ever needed anything. For a stubborn bloke like that to be as red and teary as he was makes me sure that I did the right thing in making him accept the cello like I did. Chloe was visibly emotional, but trying not to make it show, but broke down after mouthing thank you to me as everyone was leaving. I found it extremely hard to keep my composure and could only manage a smile and a thumbs up in return. I think I'm going to be riding this high for a good while. The best thing is, I can tell Gail that I sold it without having to lie, and I can toss up the idea of using the money that Chloe's dad is going to pay me for the cello to buy a reasonable secondhand learner's instrument for my niece Alice. Again, thank you for all the responses and advice.
Wow. So it kind of solved like the niece problem too, where it's like, yeah, no, I had to sell it.
Opie's a problem solver out here. My goodness.
Wow. And Opie's willing to just buy the $1,600 learner cello, eat that money, and then
Opie said he was well off now and understands like growing up with not having much.
Wow.
I do have a question for everyone watching and you, Mr. Samuel. Initially, he was like, okay, let me ask them to buy it. Should he have instead led with like, just I'm going to give this to you for free instead of like trying to get something from them? Or is that like respectful?
I think he kind of was, but it seems like the dad was like super proud. I think what you don't want to do is like a rich person to be like, I'm giving a handout to a poor person.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like that's what you don't want. And so, because like there's pride involved in that.
100%.
So I think OP did the right thing by posing it as like, one, Chloe earned this, and two, like you are paying me for this, and you're just getting a good deal.
Yeah, I would say so too, because it's like clearly this is something that's important to them, and they're like good salt of the earth people. They want to make sure they're not, taking advantage of someone, even though that's not at all the case here. But they're like, hey, we want to make sure we're like properly compensating you and doing the right thing by us. So it's kind of this great meet in the middle where it's like, yeah, $1,600 is probably a lot to them, but they probably feel better like, hey, we paid what we can. And, $1,600 isn't nothing.
$1,600 is not nothing.
We paid what we can, and we still got this life-changing gift for our child who, like, beyond deserves it.
Yeah.
Class act move. I'm curious what you all think in the comments. Definitely let me know your thoughts and opinions, and if you have any similar stories.
And I'm also curious, like, how do you feel about acts of quote unquote charity?
Yeah.
Like where it's like if you were struggling financially and a family member saw that and wanted to help you out, how do you feel about that?
It's a great question. Could kind of go both ways.
But I'd be curious to hear if you've ever been in a similar situation and how you dealt with it on either end. Either you're the Richie Rich or you're the person that needs some help. So
that's right.
Let us know in the comments. And with that, I think we're going to get into this next story. I hate my brother, but he recently did something to change my mind.
What'd he do?
Maybe he was just nice for once. Hi, Sam and John, because this is a OKOP story posted in our /OKOP show by Zim Chimchek.
Woo!
Zim XIM Check.
I love that.
I listen to your podcast all the time, and I'm always hearing these stories about people who are jerks. And so I thought I wanted to change it up a bit and give you a story with a happy ending.
Ooh, I'm ready. I'm so ready.
To start, I just want to say that I'm using all fake names for me and my family's privacy. I, 15 male, have an older brother, 18 male, with high functioning autism. This made things really hard growing up because he didn't know how to control his emotions because of his autism, and I didn't either because I was little. This led to us getting in a lot of fights that I would usually lose for obvious reasons, as in OP being littler.
Yes, little OP.
And then I would go cry to my parents, and then he would always get in trouble. To my discredit, I was a little shit back then, and sometimes would egg him on so he would hit me and get in trouble. Not like that anymore, thank God. My mom knocked some sense into me.
A self-aware young king.
Yeah. And also that's like a classic little sibling thing to do. Like my sister to this day will stub her toe and then go, Sam. And then my mom will be like, Sam, what did you do to your sister? And I'm like in the other room, like just minding my own business.
Oh
Like, I didn't do anything.
That is too legendary.
Yeah. Now, because of this, we had a horrible relationship growing up, and every interaction we would end in was one of us getting in trouble and one of us injured.
Classic sibling rivalry.
Yeah. Now, I wasn't the only one this affected. It made life really hard for my mom and pretty hard for my dad, too. My mom just couldn't get my brother to listen to anything she asked him to do, so she spent all her time either cleaning up his messes or trying to reason with him, leaving me to be left alone and making me feel unwanted as a kid because I got no attention. My dad was working a lot when I was little. No one's winning.
No one's winning. Sad.
Now, because I felt like my brother was getting all the attention, I started to purposely get him in trouble more, to which he would respond by taking my things or trying to hurt me. Now, this cycle obviously wasn't good for either of us. And when my brother tried to break my arm, sheesh, my mom had to make the really difficult decision and send my brother to a mental facility.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Damn. That is such a hard decision.
That's a really hard
to
decision
make
to make
as a parent.
Wow. A lot of time passed, and there would be this cycle where he would act really good in the facility and get released, only to be a complete ass at home and get sent there again, and so on and so forth. Now, with him being away all the time, we really had no relationship other than him beating me up when he was home. Then, when we were both a little older, I started to realize that I was just as much to blame as my brother for all these fights. So I decided to chill out and not get on his nerves on purpose. Because I guess OP is obviously you shouldn't be beat up. That's wrong. But OP's realizing I was kind of instigating a lot of this stuff.
So this sounds like the inflection point of him being like, maybe I'm part of the problem and I could be part of the solution.
He chilled out with me too. And we started fighting less. This led him to direct almost all his anger at my mom because she was the one who was punishing him when he did bad stuff. So they would argue a lot, and it only got worse over time.
It seems like now OP is, even at this point, is more aware,
OP's more aware, but it seems like even though he's not doing anything to instigate his brother anymore, his brother still has a lot of anger that he's still taking out.
Yeah, 100%, which, could be from a large variety of things.
At one point, it got so bad that he actually hit her. And so, like a good mom, fearing for her and her other child's safety, she called the police. And then he got sent to a group home. Now, at this point, I was about 13, maybe almost 14. And so the only thing I could really think at the time was good riddance. OP's finally this kid that was beating me up is gone.
Yeah. Oof.
Really closed-minded, I know. But I mean, I'm glad that you have this perspective now, OP, but I think it's understandable based on what you went through to have that feeling. And you're only 13.
You're still 14. A child trying to understand it. This is all lots of siblings have sibling rivalries like this. Yeah. So I think it's part of the process, it sounds like, for you.
Now, as we're catching up to the present, I see him less and less for obvious reasons, but my mom never gave up hope on him, and she always tried her very best to make sure that he felt loved and that he could always rely on her if he needed to. Eventually, this worked. In the group home, they got him on medicine, and he started to feel better and less angry all the time. And he was better able to control his emotions. Now, I forgot to mention this earlier, but because he had such a hard time focusing and everything going on in his brain, he had a really hard time at school, and we weren't sure he would graduate high school. But again, in the group home, they got him to actually do good in school and raise his GPA enough to graduate. Now, he finally graduated a couple months ago, and I just felt so proud of him. I was literally crying when he walked. He's just grown so much as a person. And even though he still did a bunch of horrible things when he was younger, and even when he was not so much younger, he's still my brother, and I am so proud of him, and I love him so much. That's a really beautiful perspective to have, OP.
Yeah, and OP's still 15 today.
Yeah. 15 today.
So, I mean, I think that's I think you got to give credit for growth. First off, that this is a huge progression from when he was 13, 14, like 1 or 2 years ago. And it sounds like OP is on the path of like, how can I be the most supportive, the most empathetic, and
the best brother I can be.
The best brother that I can be.
And like OP, for someone so young, I mean, like you're 15,
Yeah.
like to have this kind of perspective and this kind of empathy, like that's really mature.
Yes.
And it seems like, part of it is maybe you've just had to grow up a little bit quicker than other people, but it's really beautiful, like that you're accepting your brother and you're supporting him as he gets better.
Yeah. I hope you don't beat yourself up too much and you're just like, as it seems you're already doing, just pour that energy into all the love and support.
Yeah. And thank you so much for submitting your story. Like we love when our community submits their story. So if you want us to read your story and maybe give some advice, go to r/okopshow and submit it there. Or you can call us right now and leave a message on our call line.
That's 440-508-6567. Leave a voicemail. We might play it on the show. We might just invite you on the show. Special note for OP here.
Zim.
Can I call you Zim? OP? Zim? I would love for you to give us a call and just chat with you.
Yeah.
We're both very proud of you. Thanks for being a fan of the show. And thanks for everyone watching this wholesome video.
Yeah.
Mental health is very important, something that we take very seriously. So hopefully this improved your mental well-being a little bit. And don't forget to take care of yourself,
Amen.
Amen.
We'll see you soon.